Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. Want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, we get to speak with Tawny Loveless, a love life expert whose sharp skills have allowed her to master the art of breakup recovery, as well as relationship creation. Transform your love life in just 8 weeks with her revolutionary, results-driven, personalized TLC, Tawny Loveless Coaching Blueprint. She has a powerful blend of professional tools as well as personal experience. Her style, demeanor, and ability to empathetically deliver the truth sets her apart. Tawny has a demonstrated history of working in nonprofit organizations, crisis intervention, case management, public speaking, leadership management, consulting, coaching, facilitation, mediation, and the health wellness life industry. Strong professionally with a Bachelor of Arts, focused in psychology, communication, and human services from Indiana University. Let's find out how this blueprint works for those persons she'd already helped. So, Tawny, thank you so much for coming out to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
So, Tawny, this is your first time being a guest on the podcast. I'm so happy that you picked Hacks and Hobbies to be the first.
Absolutely.
So, Tawny, tell us a little bit about yourself, what's your journey, and how you got to be where you are today. You are an amazing coach, and you've been helping a lot of people. You've got a huge following. So, tell me, how did you get started, and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a motivational love coach for men. So basically, what that means is I help men level up their love lives, whether it's relationships, dating, breakups, divorce, or loss. Um, you know, I'll take you back to the beginning.
Mhm.
I've always been someone who helps. I love to help others. I was a social worker for about 10 years. So I've
Wow.
facilitated a lot of groups. But through all of my social work and just growing up, relationships are really important to people. And actually, our personal lives really bleed over into so many other aspects of our life.
Yeah.
Um, and so it just, every time as a social worker, something would happen or something was going on, it just always came back to a relationship, whether it was like a parental relationship or a romantic relationship. It just always had to do with love. And that's what I'm super passionate about. Um, some years back, probably 11 years ago, I lost my daughter's father in a tragic accident. So it
Oh,
was my first time dealing with loss. And then after that, just trying to navigate and learn how to date again and how that works. And ran into a shitload of red flags.
mhm.
And then, had some nice experiences dating, but I found myself like a lot of other people. Here I am, I'm successful, I have a great profession, I think I'm a great mom. What's wrong with me and how come I'm not meeting who I want to meet? And
Mhm.
so I did a lot of self work and worked on myself and figured it out and created a blueprint that worked for me that I now share with others and was able to create the love life that I desire. And so, um, yeah, that's how I got where I'm at now. And so just trying to give back to everybody else. People give up on love, and love is something that can just fuel us like no other.
Wow, that's really powerful, and it had to it had to be. I mean, what's interesting is it all starts with a tragic loss, a tragic
Hmm.
change in the way our lives go, and that's really, like you said, it is tragic, and there's nothing you can do about the tragic
Right,
incidents that happen in our lives, but to
right.
go
But it's
to
such,
move past them. Yeah.
yeah, it's such an opportunity to, so many people get stuck in that zone, the loss, the grief, and they're not sure how to overcome, whether it's loss, divorce, breakups.
Hmm.
And the truth is, it really has a lot to do with your mindset, and it's an opportunity to really create a new beginning, and also just an opportunity for such growth if you really dive into it and hit it head on.
Yeah, you're absolutely on the dot. I mean, obviously you're the expert coach, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I done love is a powerful connector.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about it. When love is great, you're fueled, you're motivated, you look at life, everything is just great. And then, when you're going through something more tragic or devastating or a breakup or so forth, I mean, it's devastating and it can really hold people back. I've seen it hold people back, and for 20 years, they're still, stuck in that, divorce or, with the aftermath of it. So it really does. It's a powerful, powerful emotion. But so many people give up on it and so many people
Mhm.
struggle with it, and it really, if we just take a moment to kind of dive in deep with who we are internally, emotionally, spiritually, just everything, it can really be an opportunity to create the love life you desire, and the one that, a love life that you deserve as well.
Absolutely. So I'm trying to think where to go. I mean, there's so much there's so much truth here, and
Hmm.
there's so much power in what in what you're saying, the power of love, the power of um relationships, and one thing that you know touched me or stood out for me was your personal relationship spills over all other, or personality or spills into all of the relationships.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
It's interesting because if your personal life, someone can have a successful business but have a horrible marriage at the house. And the truth is just think how more successful your business could be. Hey, were you coming home to like a household that you just, is full of love
mhm.
and positive and so forth. So it really does. It travels through, other relationships, and it definitely bleeds into other aspects of our life, which is why it's so important to get your personal life cleaned up and to the point where you are, happy about it.
Yeah, so how does one go around becoming happy about their personal life? I mean, you're right. It's all around the mindset, right? You got to have
Right.
incongruency. You got to be on the same page with your partner. You got to be on the same page with other people that are in your life. So how does one do
Absolutely.
that? If let's say somebody's living with their parents, somebody's living with their partner or roommate, how all of that affects one's life.
Well, I mean, words are very powerful. Words are
Hmm.
energy. Mindset, no matter what it is, whether it's business, relationships, um, everything boils back or comes back to mindset. So, for example, there's lots of people that are like, "Oh, I just, I'm never going to find love again," and
Hmm.
there's so many, these women are all after the same thing, and but that's your mindset. So if that's the
Hmm.
perspective you're putting out there, that's what you're going to attract. So I mean, it definitely starts with mindset, but just those little pieces can just, like we said, bleed over into, if you're living with somebody or if you're living at home still.
Yeah.
So it really does start with mindset. But I think people just give up on hope. They get burned bad, or they trusted somebody, or their
Hmm.
relationship isn't where it needs to be, and they feel like, well, I'm stuck. And you don't have to be stuck.
So they need to think about their mindset, and they need to focus on the outcome they're looking for, not what somebody might not be even thinking about.
Right. So, for example, one of my programs is bullshit to breakthrough. So, if you just
Hmm.
feel like your relationship, your dating life, your love life in general is just bullshit, and you're ready for that breakthrough, it's a four-step process. And I say that it's dig deep, it's kick ass, it's evolve, and it's repeat. So, with dig deep, we take the time to look at who you used to be. So, this is before like love happened, and who did you used to be? And so
Yeah.
it's really important to tie some of those things into it, because a lot of it goes back to, our parents' relationships or how we felt growing up. And
Yeah.
then we dive into at once we get an understanding of that, we connect the dots, then we jump into the phase of kick ass. And that's who you currently are. Like, who are you now because of this breakup? Who are you now because of this divorce? Or who are you now because of, being single or so forth? and we look at who you currently are. And then the evolve phase is basically, who do you want to become? Because we all have the opportunity to create the love life we want. It's just, again, goes back to that mindset or that perspective. Well, I'm married and I can't get divorced, or, well, I'm in this relationship and we're financially tied together, or
Hmm.
there's a bunch of excuses. But when you're really determined to have the love life that you want, there is absolutely an opportunity to create that.
Nice. I like it. I like it.
Thanks.
So let's go into some of the questions because I'm trying to
Sure.
change stuff up. So what I usually do, we usually talk about the journey. Then we talk about, what are some of your motivations that you keep continue, showing up and being the coach for others. Like, what are some of your motivations to do that? And
Um, Yeah. So I think, it's so important to have a why. Why are you doing this? Why is it important to you?
hell
And
yeah.
really, I want to leave a legacy, whether it's for my daughter, my granddaughter, or just,
Hmm.
in general, I want to leave a legacy. The motivation a lot of times comes from people reaching out and just saying, hey, that post that you displayed on Facebook really changed my life or made me think this way. Um, a lot of motivation is, to be honest with you, I've just always been a motivator. I'm just
Yeah.
someone that always sees the good in everything. Like, it
Hmm.
could be 100 things wrong, Junaid, but let me
Yeah.
tell you, I will be the person to find that one thing that you need to focus on. That's like, we should
Yes.
be grateful. So I'm a very motivated person. I just want everybody. I would like to see people happy, and I don't think people understand that happiness is an inner concept, and it's something that we have control over, and we don't have to blame it on other. Um, Parts of the equation. It really just comes down to us. But lots of things motivate me, and it's seeing people happy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, life is short. We got to enjoy it.
Amen. It is very,
Yeah,
very, very short. And in the time that we're living now, with the situation
absolutely.
all around the
hmm
world, it's like you never know what's next.
Well, we don't. And it's really, what's interesting about this time is that I'm getting a lot of, and I understand that, we don't have the distractions that we typically do. We're not going to the
Hmm.
gym. We're not busy running errands. We're not picking up the kids. We're so, right in the middle of this. And so therefore a lot of people are coming to terms with, there aren't distractions. So what does that mean? We're left with our emotions,
Yeah.
that self-talk we have. So a lot of people, this is a difficult time for a lot of people because, you're faced with facing yourself, actually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's yeah, you have nowhere to escape. There are no distractions. So you really
Exactly.
have to kind of sit in your emotions and figure it out. But I mean, it is a different time, and it's especially a different time for people trying to date.
Yeah.
hmm
And what's interesting about that specific part is Facebook announced, I think earlier this week or maybe it was last week, that they're launching something new called messenger dating, so you can date while being distance.
Interesting. Yeah, they did open like a Facebook dating app, and I've had some people actually say they've had some luck with it. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think everything is an opportunity to meet somebody. So why not?
Exactly. Exactly.
And
So
actually, you know what?
mhm.
Actually,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't mean to cut you off, but
No, go
this is
ahead.
actually a really good time for dating because typically people just meet in person, and all of a sudden that they're sorting what they like and what they don't like. This is a time where we can actually really connect, and we have nothing to rely on except conversation and communication. So
Yeah.
this is actually a really key time to meet people because this is the time where you're going to get a lot of conversation, a lot of communication. You're going to have all that time to talk. So it's an interesting time.
It is a very interesting time.
hmm
And like you mentioned, everybody's at home, everybody's who's isolated. I mean, we're all quarantined. And if you are single, you are left to your own thoughts. There's only so many TV shows you can watch.
Yeah, there's only so many Netflix shows I can
Yeah.
catch. That's
Yeah.
right.
So that's really crazy. Um, so the way that the podcast goes, and just just laying it out there, and you probably heard, um I'm trying to change it up so I can get a little more, know a little more about you as my
Ab-
guest. So usually I ask these questions towards the end of the episode, where I want to bring him in the middle, so then we have more time to talk about this stuff.
sure.
So the one of the questions I ask is, what is one of the hobbies that you wish you got into?
I said photography, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I modeled, did a lot of modeling from like age 9 all the way up until like 26. And
Yeah.
I love taking pictures. I love modeling, but I find that I like a lot of um, just pictures that have different aesthetics and like even like nature pictures and different things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I always want to invest in like a really good camera. You
Yeah.
know, smartphones take great pictures, but I mean,
Mhm.
I want to get into like photography and really learn how that works because
Yes.
pictures can say 1,000 words. I love photography.
Absolutely. So, I've been a photographer for a long time as well, using
Really?
different cameras, and the smartphone has come so far. Like
Yeah.
Flickr.com is one of the place that people who are photographers upload their, content, and iPhone. iPhone has been the number one camera people have posted photos from.
Right.
Right, and the other awesome thing about iPhone is that there are applications that will mimic your device to act like a DSLR, or all the settings that you can do, like manually change on a DSLR or a professional mirrorless camera. You can do that
Yeah.
from an app.
Oh yeah. And actually, like I'm pretty impressed. Like even with the iPhones, just being able to do like the burst photos and like getting a ton of
Hmm.
them at the same time, or the panoramic views and stuff. Yeah. I mean, iPhone has come a long time, but yeah, what a great hobby to jump
Yeah,
into.
absolutely, and
What do
and
you what do you like taking pictures of most?
So I take photos mostly of my kids, the bees that I have, and I did some event photography. Anytime we're at
Right.
weddings, stuff like that. But more than photos, I'm also into video. So I like the process of, taking photos and coming up with the looks
Hmm.
more than anything else. Like I love how things work inside things
Right.
more than anything else. So I'm more of a tinkerer. So like I would figure things out on how some things work. So as soon as I think, for the longest time, I just had a digital point and shoot camera. Nothing fancy,
Okay.
something you pick up. This is before the smart. We had the smartphone,
Hmm.
and then I think in 2013 is when I got my first DSLR. As a gift from my wife, and I got really deep into it. I started taking courses to understand the depth of, things that you can do with a digital camera.
Right.
And so that's been really helpful. And now I have like three cameras pointing at me right now in my studio, right? So I have all these things set up. So now I can create content, I can take photos, I
That's
can,
awesome.
teach people the way that I've learned.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Thank you. All right, next question. What did you want to be when you were a child?
Oh wow. Well, I my dream was to be a supermodel. I was going to be on the
Hmm.
cover of Cosmopolitan and walking
Yeah.
runways everywhere. That was that, or a veterinarian, because I love animals. And then of
Hmm.
course there was me being a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of dreams, but I've always just wanted to take the lead in whatever it was. That's for
Mhm.
sure.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. All right, next question. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
I saw that when you were asking me the questions, and I was like, "Where do
Mhm.
I go from here?" We
Yeah.
have a lot of shows that we watch here.
Mhm.
I really liked Ozark. Have you ever watched Ozark?
I've seen some of Ozark, yes.
Yeah, Ozark is pretty awesome. I love Queen of the South, but
Mhm.
being that I'm a love coach, obviously I tune into um, everything love on Netflix or
Mhm.
on demand. I have watched. So Married at First Sight is like one of the ones I really enjoy.
Wow,
Have you ever
okay.
watched that before?
I have not, no.
It's really interesting. They have expert coaches or experts, whether it's sex expert, relationship
Mhm.
expert, all these different experts, and they literally come through all these applications, and they basically it's like having a matchmaker, and they
Wow.
match make you on paper, and then you show up to your wedding day, and you're married at first sight to a complete stranger.
That's interesting. That's very
It
similar to, the way the East, or, South Asia, or like India and
absolutely,
Pakistan, right? You're you're especially, arranged marriages.
yeah. Well, you know what's really interesting is they say that the most successful marriages in the world are arranged marriages.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Western culture is just so caught up in the movies and all the romance and all these different
Yeah.
things. But the reason that it's so successful is because it is aligned. I mean, they look at everything, financial and kids and
Mm-hmm.
values and just everything you could take into, consideration, and they align you, how they see fit. But they've had some real success stories on this show. And it's really interesting to see how, like one of their most successful episodes was the girl was completely like, I'm not attracted to him. I don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
this. I mean, she gave it time because she knew they were matched for a reason, and they've been
Yeah.
like happily married for 6 years, have kids,
Wow.
happily married. So it's a pretty cool process.
That's interesting. And they've been around for 10 seasons now. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Well, wow. New things you learn. Um,
Yeah. I just, people, a lot of times, I just actually had a client the other day that was like, I'm on my third marriage and I just don't want to get divorced this time. And how's that going to look? And I thought to myself, does it even matter? I mean, look where we're at right now. We have
yeah.
90 Day Fiance, we have
Yeah.
Married at First Sight. Like,
Yeah.
nobody cares about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is like the question they ask, I don't want to end up divorced. Well, are they focusing on the wrong thing?
Many times, yes.
Right?
Many times. Yeah, because a lot of times, even in relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend relationships, coworkers, whatever, a lot of times, what do people do? We complain about the other person.
Yes.
They need to do this. They need to do that. Listen, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Hey, you need
Yeah.
to do this. You need to change.
Instead of
um,
me doing what I want to do,
Absolutely.
what I
Yeah,
should
and
be doing.
absolutely. So if you could take the focus off of them and remember that happiness is an inner concept and focus on what you can do different, that's the key. When
Yeah.
we do it differently, then people respond to us differently. We get different responses, and that's what people fail to realize. So yeah,
Wow. That's really a good point because I keep thinking about that every single day. Should I be looking at what they should be doing or should I be looking at what I should be doing?
yeah,
And also putting my ego away to be able to,
absolutely.
right? That's the biggest problem, the ego.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a much bigger issue with the male gender, because
Yes.
you're raised with that pride and that ego, but it is
Hmm.
it is. It's like, you either lose your ego or you lose her. So which one are
Yeah,
you going to do? And
exactly.
and people struggle with that. But just it's such different times. You're raised one way, traditionally conservative, to be a big boy, don't cry, and keep your ego in check. And then now we're in a time where it's like you need to communicate, and it is okay to be sensitive, and you can share that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I like it. Thank you. All right. What movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I've seen lots of movies, and I feel like
Hmm.
men always remember movies better than women because I'm
Oh,
always like,
really?
"What was that?" Yeah, because every man has that moment where they're like, "Remember when he said this?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." um, that's a good question. I'm not really sure, and I've watched
Mm,
a ton of movies. What about
yeah.
you? Which one do you think you would do?
I would want to be Robert Downey Jr. from Iron Man.
Ah, good one. Yeah, that would be fun.
He is my super favorite superhero, and that's the next question. Who is your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero? Oh gosh. That's a good question, Janaid. That kind of ties into the movies. I don't know. I really liked Iron Man.
Yeah.
I loved that. I also I don't even know if you'd call it a superhero, but Deadpool. I really liked his
Oh, he
character.
is so good. He is so good.
Yeah, I love that. So I guess those two.
Nice. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Interesting. I guess just off the top of my head, maybe Jenga.
Jenga.
Yeah, and I
That's not a
guess I would.
board game.
Oh, it's not. You know what, Janaid? It's not. A board game, my goodness. You are taking me there.
would it would
Well,
it be life,
that could be a great one for me. Yes.
right? Because
Yeah.
you've navigated through and you've come out on top and doing what you're doing and creating a safe space and a place where your daughter can grow to her own.
Yeah, and you know what? I loved playing that game when I was younger. You were kept, with all these hobby questions. You're really like taking me back. So I'm like, gosh, I can't remember a board game. The first one that popped up was Monopoly, and I'm like, that
Yeah.
doesn't. That
It's
doesn't
it doesn't
correlate with
reflect.
me. Yeah. But life would be a really good one. Yeah, that concept is a really interesting one.
Yeah. So what I try to do is, initially, because a lot of people that I spoke with, they'll go on and talk about their journey and talk about a lot of the things. And I was like, if it'd be really cool if I bring the questions up ahead of the conversation, because then that can help peel the layers of the
Yeah.
personality. Because now I know about you. Yet, like you love TV shows that are talking about love because that's
Yeah.
your business. Like that's the business
Yeah.
you're in, right?
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because like board games, I love playing any kind of board games.
Mm-hmm.
I love any kind of competition. I love playing all, Sorry, Monopoly, all of
Mm-hmm.
that, Candyland. I love games in general. So it's interesting that it's just taking me back some of these questions. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah,
You're the second person who's mentioned Candyland board game, and I've never ever heard that board game before.
really.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty simple game. It's one, you play when your kids are pretty young, but it's a fun game, color coded, and you get to slide down well, that's maybe Shoots and Ladders.
That's
I
Truth and Ladders.
It's been a while. My daughter's
Yeah.
grown up. I have a granddaughter, so I'm sure I'll be
Oh,
breaking out the
wow.
board games eventually. Too funny.
Too funny. Well, this was awesome. This was really awesome. And I can help you. So you said, you're really interested in starting up a podcast.
Yeah,
And I could
absolutely.
I can answer a lot of questions in that area. And if you want to make part of that in this podcast, we can do that. We can talk later on. But tell me, how can folks reach you? How can people get in touch with you? And where can they find, more about
Information.
information?
Yeah. So basically, as far as social media, you can find me on Facebook.
Hmm.
I have my personal page, which is Tawny Loveless. And then
Hmm.
I also have my coaching page, which is my business page on Facebook, which you'll see pop up as well, Tawny
Hmm.
Loveless Coaching.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram under Tawny Loveless. And each of them kind of have similar content, but
Yeah.
they do vary. The other
Hmm.
one is my website, www.tawnyloveless.com.
Nice.
And yeah, and I always tell people I get tons of inboxes on Facebook and DMs. I just love to help in general. But yeah, there's always, once you go to my website, you can click for a free complimentary clarity call, which is pretty much where they share their love life experience, and I can
Yeah.
match it with my expertise and see if I can't help them. But yeah, just all over social media right now. I'm getting ready to
Nice.
release that book soon, so hopefully, yeah,
Awesome.
you'll be seeing more from me.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about your book because you said you finished writing a book. Tell us
I
a little bit
did.
about that.
Okay, so my book is called Red Flags Explained. It's
Mm.
a no bullshit guide to identifying and understanding 69 red flags in dating. Um, and it's so funny is the
Yeah.
69. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, oh, how'd you get 69? Well, I had planned it would be like 99 red flags or
Yeah.
101 red flags. And
Hmm.
when I got ready to count, it literally was 69 flags. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. So
It's
we'll
kind of
just keep
interesting.
that. Yeah, but the book is just a no bullshit guide. When we look at our past relationships, there's always red flags that we notice. There's
Hmm.
red flags that we ignored, and it's just interesting to, we're so caught up with wanting to be in love or to have a relationship or to find the one that we just keep our blinders on. And so this red flags explained is just there's multiple red flags that people can
Yeah.
have, and they're not deal breakers, but
No.
they are red flags, and it means you need to ask more questions, get more clarification. And so basically what I've done is list 69 red flags,
Mm.
and I help you understand why they're red flags, and maybe what questions it should provoke, and maybe what you should be thinking, and why this may be an alert as to opening up the conversation. And I think if people have a good idea of what that looks like
Mhm.
moving forward, they can be a little more selective and be a little more confident in asking those questions.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really needed because when you are
Well,
aware of the flags, yeah, you're gonna make
yeah.
a much
Well,
more calculated decision.
yeah, and Junaid, it's really crazy because anytime I'm on the phone, I always tell people I'm the expert at cracking the codes to their love life.
Yeah.
Because I could be on the phone with them for 10 minutes,
Hmm.
and literally within 10 minutes, I'm like, well, there it was. There was the red. There was the red flag, and it's like they didn't catch it. because, the blinders are on. They're emotionally involved, and sometimes they have blind spots. So if you have this book in front of you and you can kind
Mhm.
of, now you have an explanation of why it's a red flag and why, now when you're out there dating and it pops up, now you'll be more confident to say, you know what, I am going to ask that question, because
Yeah.
typically people recognize and acknowledge red flags. The problem is they don't want to look like that person, like they don't want to ask too many questions. They don't want to add them. When I'm talking to clients, a lot of times I'll say, I mean, even something simple. Well, where does he work? Oh, I haven't asked. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you don't know if he has a job and you don't know if he's worked, but you're dating him so far for 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just kind of it's a motivation to help people be able to identify those and understand them so they have better luck.
No, that's really good. And I think one thing that I would recommend to you, since you are getting ready to launch the book,
Hmm.
um, podcasts are like, they are like blog posts. And so I don't know how big my audience is. I mean, I know I have an idea. I think there's like probably 40 people, 40,
Okay.
50 people that listen to every
Yeah.
episode that are published, right? But there are other podcasts that you can be a guest on and bring attention to your book. So it's another
Yeah.
marketing lever essentially.
Yeah, definitely a different avenue. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad actually to have my first one with you. We connected
Yeah.
quite a while back, and I
Yeah.
remember it was like hacks and hobbies, and I thought, well, I've never done a podcast, and
Yeah.
yeah, I just thought it was a great opportunity, and I'm really glad that you asked me.
Absolutely. It's it was a pleasure talking to you as well.
Yeah, and thanks for that information, because I think that's a great avenue to kind of get it out there. Yeah, this is definitely a book that can go for any age,
Mhm.
everybody, that can help them in their love life. So I'm super excited about it.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much, Tani.
You're welcome.
I'll be make sure to, I'll make sure to drop the link to the episode, or to the book when it's out
Yeah,
on the podcast, as well as, where
awesome.
they can reach you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks so much, Junaid.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on their website, hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests.